All right, local 1660 members, I'm Chris Hart, and I'm running for local president. And today I've got Erik Peterson live in the Divot Room.
Boom, in the flesh. Hello.
How's it going, dude?
Good, buddy.
Good. I'm glad to have you here. Thank you for your time. I think this is important. We don't have many guests live in the Divot Room. Even when I record with Todd, it's usually over Zoom. But it's I like having people down here. It's kind of my, I don't know. It's my place I go to meditate and watch golf. You know, this is my man cave.
I mean,
for lack of a better term.
Thank you for having me here. I don't know why more people wouldn't want to come. It's pretty cool. For those of you who haven't been here, this is a really good. This room's got Chris written all over it. It's a really cool room.
It's funny because while it is a kind of a cave feel because we've got foundation, it's underground, it's a daylight basement, but it's the Divot Room because that's the name of my podcast with Todd.
Right.
But it is kind of just more of a divot rather than a cave. So it's fitting.
Whatever. This is no divot. You got a projector, pull down screen, coins. I mean, there's no booze up on the bar, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, this is fantastic. Cool. I'm jealous of your room.
Well, thanks again for coming here. And we're going to talk about some different things. I know that I've showed you this document that I have that we probably talk about and walk through if that's kind of what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, what I kind of want to do, for those of you that don't know, this is actually this is a mulligan because we recorded the first one and it was after a pretty rough shift, and Chris was busting my balls about soon as these earmuffs went on. It was like I'm kind of a chatty guy, but you put these earmuffs on me and I get quiet. So I kind of equate that to like, I don't know if you've ever seen or if you've ever put like a sweater on like a dog or a cat, how they freeze. That's kind of what I felt like when I put it on. So this is a mulligan. The first time we did this, we went over this document that you'd produced, and the reason I want to talk about this document is because this document is it's kind of like your mission statement. It's your abridged version of a strategic plan. Strategic plans are very, very like in depth and multiple pages long. But anybody, whether it's any leader that comes to a new leadership role, right? Like they have a foundation, they have a scaffolding, they have just kind of like a approach on how they're going to do things. And the reason I want to talk about this document is because my first question is really like, how do you plan to lead? How do you plan to move forward as union president? And, what does that look like with your labor management relationship? The labor management relationship, because I think it's important. For those of us that have been around for a while, it's been kind of a roller coaster, right? We've had our ups and we've had our downs, and how are we going to navigate that in the future? And when you created this document, I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And it doesn't really say like how you're going to collaborate. It doesn't really say how you're going to, be in labor management meetings, but it just really exemplifies how you're going to be as a person. And I think it's a really good document, and I'm hoping that, everybody gets to see this eventually. But I think it's a great thing to go over. So Chris, this is, you created this, like 6 months ago, 6 months ago?
I think it's actually been a couple of years. I think I just showed it to you about 6 months ago. So it's something, we've talked about it before about labor management relations. And I think it's kind of the heartbeat of being successful together as a labor organization and as a fire district. So this just kind of lays the framework and foundation of how to be successful within it and be able to maybe come out the other side through some adverse times successfully. Right. Because it's inevitable. There will be some wars. There will be some fights that we have to go through. But if we kind of adhere to this and keep this in mind to get out the other side and actually be productive and professional and successful on the back end of hard times, if you stick with this, I think you can be successful with that.
Yeah, 100%. So I think this document is great. I'm just going to kind of roll this out. Your document is structured so it says it's got a mission statement, it's got shared goals, values, areas of work, and then kind of some ground rules on how you're going to meet with management, and then just general ground rules specific to those meetings.
Yeah, and this document is just a working document that I put together, and the title is Labor Management Partnership, and this is just something that I kind of want to implement when I become the union president. So this is structured more towards labor management relationships rather than just an overarching mission statement for the local, but it can still be, the mission statement for the local.
So your mission statement says, create and maintain a relationship founded on trust, respect, understanding, collaboration, and shared goals. So
yeah,
for you, where does that come from?
I think it just has to do with, in order for us to be successful as a local and be able to, I don't like to say get what we want, but ultimately for, in simple terms, yeah, I mean, this is a way for us to get what we want. And so if we need something or want something, I go to the fire chief, and, as long as we create and maintain a relationship founded on trust, respect, understanding, collaboration, and shared goals, when I go to the fire chief, he should have that understanding from this mission statement to just sit down and listen to me rather than just be like, nah, not even going to start.
Yep.
Right. So at least have that understanding that you can, now we might not get it. I understand that. And vice versa. They might come to us for something and they might not get it. But as long as we have this understanding of how we approach things, I think it's going to be successful for all.
Yeah. And I think about our management group too, and just the different personalities that are in that group. In your mission statement, it says create and maintain a relationship founded on trust. And I think you've already done that, right? You've been around for a long time. You have relationships with those people. I think those individuals respect you, you respect them. And I think because of that, right, it opens the door, not necessarily for like getting what we want, but collaborating. So we as an organization and a labor group and a management team, right, we can all get what we want, right? Yeah. Because ultimately the goal is to serve the public, right, and the communities within our first dues. But it's hard to do that when you don't have a happy and healthy workforce. And I think it just synergizes together. And I think our management team, for the most part, understands that, but there are times when that is not the case, and we do have to buck the system a little bit, and that's one of the things I like about this part about relationships, right? It was when you have that relationship, you can actually call that to their attention, and hopefully it's a more productive way to kind of get what we want or need without dragging everybody through the mud.
Yeah, and when I talk relationships, this specifically calls for trust and respect. This isn't like friendship. This isn't going golfing. This isn't like, hey, we're going to go camping together. That's not what this kind of relationship and partnership is about. It's just built on trust and respect and professionalism, because that's what we need to do, because labor and management work together. And there is an initiative between the International Fire Chiefs and the IFF about maintaining those labor management relationships. Right. So
it's important. Next, shared goals, create a productive and engaged workforce and eliminate the perception that labor and management have an adversarial relationship. And I think that's really important too, because I think maybe that perception is out there.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you just look at last negotiations with TVF&R, there was some perception that there was like adversarial bargaining going on, which there really wasn't. Yeah, I mean, there were times where, we were fighting the good fight at the bargaining table, but there was never like a point where like people got pissed off and left the room. There was never
nobody's
any of that.
Flipping tables over.
But yeah, I mean, we definitely were stressed and strained. Yeah. We didn't understand why they couldn't understand some of our points and vice versa. So there is that, but it wasn't ever adversarial. So I think just being able to, I think if anything, like the beginning is just, it was productive. The bargaining was. Now it was drawn out, and we can talk about why. And that's just more about coordinating 10 different calendars for busy people.
Right.
That's more than anything. Yeah. So, yeah.
The next is values, and you don't usually see like a values statement in mission statements, but I like that you put it in here because I think it really kind of exemplifies who you are, as a person, specifically that last line. And for those of you that, don't know Chris very well, you might think he's a little gruff and maybe a little grumpy pants, but Chris is actually one of the most empathetic people that I know, and he's usually the first person to jump to somebody's defense. And as far as like peer support goes, Chris comes to me all the time for help because he cares about the members. So he's got this soft side, right? Like once you get through that like concentric circle of gruffness, right? It's cool.
The resting Chris face.
Yes. You've got just a gold soft core.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So your values, right? It's the first line is we don't use manipulation or power to establish our leadership, which I think is great. And, hopefully that is something that you maintain moving throughout your tour of duty. We use our relationships to help us through adverse times and situations. And then the last line, we choose forgiveness over revenge, which is freaking hard to do. And man, you're pretty good at it. So I remember when we went through, that first struggle course a couple years ago, and one of the things you said was like, I just wish that we talked about forgiveness more. And I thought about that, and I'm like, you know what? He's right. Initially, I was a little irritated. I was like, oh, dang it, Chris, why are you standing? But no, he's right. Like forgiveness is such an important thing. And if you can't forgive, it's really hard to move past. If you're stuck on revenge and like anger and spite, right? Like it's really hard to be productive moving forward. So I thought that was cool. When I read this, I thought about that moment at that class.
Yeah. Nice. This is kind of the, the meat and potatoes, for lack of a better term, of this document. These values I hold near and dear, because it's being able to translate that into how do you apply this in your real life. And that's kind of what I have done here. And the manipulation, we don't use manipulation or power to establish our leadership. I think that's huge, right? I think that's kind of my core is just being straightforward and honest. Manipulation is not part of my DNA. And then using our relationships to help us through adverse times and situations is exactly what we talked about through the mission statement. And if we build strong relationships, then that helps us on the back end,
right,
through adverse times. And then the choose forgiveness over revenge. That's huge, because I have actually felt the physical effects of forgiveness on a few different occasions. It doesn't happen very often, but one was very personal to me, and I was able to vocally express that I forgave somebody, and it brought tears to their eyes. It didn't necessarily bring tears to my eyes, but I felt the physical weight actually lift off, like years of just resentment.
Yeah.
And then when I vocalized it to somebody, you could tell that it was years of weight on their shoulders too for what they did. And vice versa. I was able to just let go of it and move on. Right. And so there is some physical effects from it. And to be able to sit there and just, instead of just bitching at each other and bitching about the past, let's just move on. Like we always talk about looking through the windshield, don't look in the rear view mirror. Well, I found myself in a lot of labor management meetings where people are looking in the rear view mirror. I'm like, why the fuck are we even talking about this? So let's just move on.
Yeah. The windshield's 10 times larger than the rear view mirror, man.
Yeah.
Look forward.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's there as a reminder, right? But you don't need to dwell on it.
Right. So those values, those certainly are just the core of this document. And that's how I think we can, if we live by those values as a labor management partnership, man, it's going to be, it's good.
So awesome. Those are the three things that I really just wanted to like dive into with this mission statement. The last one, areas of work, I don't want to dive into it as much, but I still think it's good. So you have areas of work, joint planning, development of policies and procedures, joint problem solving involving personnel issues and other programs or committees, interacting with elected officials, working together to improve communication. All those are really awesome things. I look forward to hopefully working with you on a lot of those things in the future.
Yeah. I mean, this is why I consider it a working document, because, when I do become the local president, I'm going to be able to go to the fire chief and say, hey, this is what I got. Where should we tweak it?
Yep.
To be able to, kind of work in what his side wants to do too. So, and then I also have just what meetings look like and just how many meetings. The meetings and ground rules are just kind of in there. So
yeah, but also great. Like, you want to meet with the fire chief at least once a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like labor management meeting,
yep.
At least every month, large group, labor management meetings once a year. Like those are all awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it allows us to get in front of any issues that we might have, crush some animosity that might be like brewing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of those things we kind of struggle with right now, or have in the past, maybe not so much right now,
but we struggle well. Sorry.
Hugs Club, buddy.
It was just easy to throw in there.
We're going to talk about that here in a second. And then the other thing that I want to talk about, just as being the lead of the peer support team, I think if I didn't talk about wellness, it would be kind of a missed opportunity. But I guess my first question is how do you, or how does the local plan on supporting firefighter wellness in the future? And what are just some of your thoughts moving forward that you can do to support some of these initiatives? And 1660 is big, right? We have a lot of agencies that we support. Everyone has different takes on this whole concept, right? TBF&R's the big push right now is struggle well. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, Forest Grove or Cornelius or some of these other agencies are as focused on wellness as we are. So just what are your thoughts on general overall wellness for firefighters in the future?
Yeah, I think there's all aspects, right? Whether it's physical health, mental health, financial health. I think all of them are important, clearly. I think being able to get the right people in the right places to help be advocates for those programs is important. As a union officer, we've got a million things going on, and I say this all the time. We don't know what we don't know.
Right.
So being able to appoint certain people to those areas of work, whether it's behavioral health, yourself with peer support, and you're doing awesome things, right? You're killing it. You're doing great things with Struggle Well and peer support, and we're kind of actually, it almost seems like, you just taught at the 9th District Educational, and we've had people teach at ALTS, the IFF Educational Summit. So it seems like we're kind of the leaders in the game.
Right.
And how can we form that and look after our own members, not just IFF members, right? But be able to continue to refine what it looks like to have a peer support team. We talk about the $20 a month assessment. Being able to maybe find a way to give that money back to our members, right, and fund it a different way. That's always a goal as well. Continue to work just through our wellness fitness initiative and our standing committee between labor management. You're on it. Kyle Leonard's on it. Colin O'Riordan's on it. I'm on it. Got 4 people from management on it. And I think we all have the same common goals. As long as we can continue to fund OC Health, continue to have our annual physicals, continue to have the resources that we need, we can always do better.
Right.
But I think we're doing really, really good right now.
I agree. Yeah, I think we're leaders as far as just the general wellness initiative within the IFF. It was awesome to go out and be able to speak to people from Colorado, labor leaders from Colorado, Nevada, Oregon, Wyoming, Utah, and, lead that workshop. That was pretty awesome. We're definitely the leaders in a lot of those initiatives, and I feel really supported by our principal officers. The goal, when I first took over the peer support team, like one of the goals was like, how do we reduce this $20 membership assessment, right? Like, what are things that we can do? And, so we're working on that. We're hoping to have a plan in place that allows us to be able to do that based off of private donations and grants and, tentatively some, legislation in the future. But that's one of my main priorities. But another thing too, right? Like specific to, peer support, right? In a perfect world, I think we shouldn't need a peer support team, right?
Yeah, we should all just be peer supporters.
And that's my point, right? Like in a perfect world, we're all good friends. We're all good employees. We're all good to each other, right? Mm-hmm. And, I hate to throw that out there like that because
be good to each other.
Exactly. But I think like if we're doing the right things individually, like we don't need a peer support team, right? Like and on that note, like a few of my best peer supporters, right, is you, is Dallas, mm-hmm. is Rocky, is Lee. Like you guys come to me all the time and ask me to dive into different people that are struggling with different things, not just within TVFNR, but also outside of the local. So, when I first took this team over, it was like one of the hot topics was like, oh, the peer support team is a gossip team. All they do is go to union meetings and they talk about everybody's bullshit. So I came in hot and heavy and said, shut the fuck up. Confidentiality is the most important thing. Trust and confidentiality, right? Like if we don't have that, we don't have anything.
Yeah.
And we're not sharing all this stuff. So I wanted separation between the principal officers and what was going on. And if you were helping somebody, then you keep that to yourself unless it becomes something where you need more resources. And then you still need to ask permission to use that person's name. So I was really, I was fifth gear on that. And what I've found after almost 3 years is like, you guys are some of my best peer supporters. And there's not a gossip column going on at the e-board table. Nobody talks about people's personal bullshit. And that was kind of just like this weird thing that didn't really exist.
Yeah. We got enough bullshit we're dealing with.
Yeah.
We need to talk about other things.
To dive into that is just one more, thing to have to deal with for you guys. But what I will say is you guys come to me often with true empathy and worry about our members. Mm-hmm. And, I really appreciate that. And that's been one of the things that I was not expecting when I first took this over.
Yeah. So, sometimes we're the first line of defense because we deal with disciplines. We deal with a lot of stuff that sometimes you just kind of stumble upon it.
Yeah.
Being able to have your eyes wide open to be able to identify some of those things.
Yep.
I'm not trained to necessarily identify some of those things, but I'm also a human, so I can identify some of those things, but I'm not necessarily trained to deal with them. So that's why we turf them to you.
Thank you. So, that's in a nutshell, really all I got.
That's all you got?
Well, I know I do have one more thing. So one thing that I think, and I know you're focused on this too, but I think people need to understand one of the best things that labor can do for us from a wellness perspective is to continue to push to reduce the work week.
100%.
All right. Circadian rhythm misalignment, malalignment, right? It's a big thing right now. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of data that shows that makes everything else harder, right? Yeah. So not only are we struggling with sleeping issues, we're also struggling with work-related trauma. There's a really high percentage of people in this line of work that already come to the job with high adverse childhood experiences scores, right? And people do that because they want to leave the world better than they found it, right? Like mm-hmm. They don't want people to go through what they went through. And that circadian rhythm misalignment, right? That's such a hard thing to figure out, right? Because we just have to be available, obviously, at night, right? You can't do weird 12-hour shifts, right? Because then you're screwing half the workforce.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously it's different depending on what station you're at, but it's a big deal. And it's also something that the fire chiefs are aware of, right? They know that, right? They're trying hard to reduce code when calls and do different thing that's going to make that circadian rhythm misalignment a little bit easier. But that screws with your limbic system so bad that it causes significant impacts downrange. And you'll see people that are like retired, and you're like, oh my God, you lost 30 pounds. There's no wrinkles. Did your hair actually grow back?
Right. All right.
You're like, holy shit, you look amazing. Well, that's because they're sleeping. They're getting deep sleep. They're getting a REM sleep, right? They're going to bed when the sun goes down and they're getting up when the sun comes up, right? And
yep.
That's the way that we were naturally like designed to function. And when you spend 25 years doing the opposite of that, right, it fucks you up.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, continue to reduce that work week. I think that would be amazing. Hopefully within the, 11 years I have left, I can get down to a 42-hour work week.
Yeah. It's taken us 20 plus years to lower the work week by 7 years. And so with that being said, it'll take us over 20 years to lower it another 7 years. And I think one of the biggest things is, we could sit here and say like, we need to get to a 42-hour work week. That's a lot of money.
Oh my gosh.
And so it'll come at a huge cost. So if we just continue to chip away at it over the years, eventually we'll get to a 42-hour work week. And that's kind of the glass ceiling for a work week, right? Yeah. Which would be a true D shift with no debit days, 1 on, 3 off. It'd be amazing. If we could do it tomorrow, I'd love it. I just don't know if it's financially feasible at all right now, other than just kind of chipping away at it. Now, maybe take bigger chips away at it, but it all comes at a cost, right? And so, we've talked about bargaining. It's a hot topic right now, and a lot of people are like, oh, what are we going for? It's like, well, wages and work week are always one of the top two, but at the same time, when you're going through bargaining, it's so dynamic. Yeah. I've talked about this all the time. You might have an idea one day and then the next day it's different. Right. So, just be reassured that, we will be informed by our membership about what they want, and we'll go into bargaining and we'll fight for what we can get and get the most we can. So.
And I just wanted to clarify a couple things. I'm not advocating in any way, shape, or form that we're trying to just do a 42-hour work week. Like, I understand the minutia attached to all that. If we're at a 49.10 hour work week, right, and a true D shift is a 42-hour work week, to reduce your work week, 6.90 hours, like you said, right, to 20 years, we've reduced our work week 1 hour every contract, right? Sometimes 3 years, sometimes 4 years for the last 20 years. So manage your expectations. Like, that's just not going to happen. I think, in a perfect world, just like you said, chipping away a little bit of money, a little bit of work reduction, like however that looks, right? Like, to me, seems like a good plan, but just the shift from having 5 cycles of 1 on, 3 off.
Yeah.
Right, that's going to reduce your short-term stress. That's going to help you with circadian rhythm misalignment, right? Like, and with that said, like, I work a lot of overtime.
Yeah.
So,
so do I.
Yeah, we've got to manage that better, right? It's nice to be able to go to Hawaii once a year with your family and have a nice trailer and do all sorts of nice things because you're making good money and working overtime, but when we're like, wow, we need to reduce our work week, like, think about. The last time we were here, when I did the mulligan, because I was on a 72 freaking hour shift, 4th, 5th, 6th of July, and I'm talking about circadian rhythm misalignment. I'm like, well, Peterson, come on, guy. Like, it's hard to to say, hey, well, do this, but you're not doing this when I'm choosing to work this. 72-hour shift.
And I think overtime is always going to be there, and we're always going to have people that want to work it. And it's a benefit, right? It's not guaranteed. It's just a benefit that, we can hopefully always have.
Yeah.
There's certainly times where people, it's not as readily available. But think it's still a good benefit to have, but as long as you're using it wisely. But man, with a D shift, you can have 2 days off on one end of the 48 that you work. So it's even, I mean, the benefits of being able to work overtime, still have some time off is huge, right? Because I hate coming off of a busy 48, having 1 day off and being like, fuck, I got to go back tomorrow.
That 2 days is money.
Yeah.
I mean, that will be...
It'll be huge. So I think that, I mean, if we're still talking about bargaining, I think wages is always up there.
Yep.
But yeah, the ultimate goal is always that 42-hour work week. And, they passed a law in Florida that, they're encouraging all of their fire departments to go to a 42-hour work week. Now you have to bargain it. And at what cost, right? I mean, we can sit here and say, you know what? Right now we have 14 debit days in a year. Are we willing to give away 14 days of PTO to be able to get down to a 42-hour work week? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that some of those departments in Florida probably might have to do to be able to get that. But I don't think we're willing to do that kind of stuff, right? Those are big, big gives. I don't like to give. I like to get. Right? If you if you give something away, it's hard to get it back.
Yep.
So, 42-hour work week sounds great, but this job's pretty damn awesome anyways in itself. So
yeah, I think, and on that note, right, like, people, don't get your panties in a knot too much, because these guys are thinking about negotiations, right? Every time I work an overtime shift, that seems to be a hot topic. People are like, why aren't we talking about negotiate? Like, look, the intent to bargain letter is submitted in January, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So fall time frame, they're going to start pulling the membership. I know there's some people that are asking that, we do a better job of educating our membership about some of the things that we're talking about. I'm hoping that maybe we can start diving into that come fall time frame. Maybe you'll see a little bit of outreach. Who knows? But look, these guys are talking about it. They're aware of it, right? Like, nobody's saying, oh, we're doing a 42-hour work week in lieu of pay. We want a 15% pay rate. Like, just chill out.
Well,
right.
Hey, maybe we do take a 4-year pay freeze and get to a 42-hour work.
Oh God. But no, you couldn't not say no to that.
Those are the extremes, right? Those are the extremes. If we want to get to a 42-hour work week, then let's see if it's possible. The educational part, I go back and forth on. The educational part for me goes on the back end of bargaining. Here's what we got, and here's why it's going to be beneficial for you.
Like during the process?
After the process, once we come to a conclusion on what once we TA a contract,
copy before the vote,
then we have some town halls, explain why we got what we got. Because if you try to educate the membership on the front end, I think part of it is trust us. We know what we're doing.
Yep.
We will take a survey, and you can tell us what's important to you, whether it's wages, work week, time off, whatever it may be.
Yep.
And we'll tally all that stuff. And if wages is at the top, wages is what we're going to focus on. And then 2, 3, 4, right? We'll focus on all those things. But the other thing is you have to trust that we know what we're doing, and we've got experience in bargaining, right?
Yeah.
There is a very, very, very good chance that your bargaining team for the local is going to have probably 12 contracts under their belt.
Right.
And there's a good chance that your bargaining team for management will have 0.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to think that way, but there's a good chance, right? So not saying that we're going to go in and roll them. We're all going to have our own marching orders. I mean, it's not about rolling somebody in bargaining. But just trust us that we know what we're doing. We'll educate you on the back end of why we did what we did. There will be opportunity for you to reach out to any of us to be able to be like, hey, this is on the survey. What does this mean? Mm-hmm. Just know that there might be opportunities, maybe put a podcast out for a few details about, hey, this is a potential.
Yep.
But we also don't want to show a bunch of cards on the table to our membership because we don't want it leaked to management, all that kind of, bargaining kind of games type of stuff. So there is that, but just trust that your bargaining team is going to be educated. They're going to have experience.
Yeah.
Lee Trotter's great at bargaining.
Yeah.
He's bargained a lot of contracts. I've bargained a lot of contracts. Rocky might not be there. Rocky won't be there. I've already asked him how much he costs, and he's not going to. So
I'm on the Cornelius bargaining team actually right now, and what I was going to say is, you nail on the head, right? Like, because 1660 has multiple contracts that they're negotiating every year, we have this crazy awesome thing where we have principal officers that are negotiating contracts more than arguably anybody in the nation.
Yeah.
And Lee is good.
I don't know about everybody because I was a member of 2665 and they have, 40 different fire departments that are within their local and they bargain all those contracts. So,
but Lee is really good. And the attorney that we are negotiating with is super nice, but it's her first one.
Yeah. So
like and Sammy, right? This is like her third or fourth one. And my gosh, those two are fantastic. So when you hear the complaints about why aren't we hiring an attorney? Because you have to hire an attorney and explain to them for hours exactly what you want because
attorneys aren't cheap and we know what we're doing. So
exactly. So
now if I walk into your fire station, you wrote C- on the contract that we bargained for you, then I'm not going to take offense to it, but it'll be better than C-.
So
what else you got, dude?
That's it, buddy.
I got something for you.
Oh shit.
So I just recorded a podcast with James Lang, and I'm not sure if his podcast came out before yours or not, but I've already recorded it with him. And I brought up something that just came out the other day with, I'm going to make a golf reference because this is intriguing me. This is actually on the forefront of my mind right now. Scotty Scheffler, the number one player in the world. Okay. The Open Championship is happening right now.
I'm familiar.
He, his press conference, he made mention to about like, when I win a tournament, it's like 2 minutes of celebration and then it's just kind of over. And I think to myself, what's the point? And it was longer than that. And I'd encourage anybody that likes golf or just kind of likes to think about things. What's the point? Like, I think he's lost. He doesn't have an identity. He's trying to figure out what's the point of winning. What's the point about me being out here? And it was kind of sad to me to watch. And you can listen to my podcast with Todd Newman, The Divot Room, because I went on a rant about it yesterday. Because it was really not disturbing. It was really sad to me that the number one player in the world was basically trying to figure out what's the point? Why am I out here? I win and it's great and I've worked really hard at it, but then it's just kind of over and on to the next week. What's the point? And the only reason I'm referring to this, the only reason I even brought it up to James Lang is because I feel like that is kind of where our membership might be at right now. What's the point?
Well, I could tell you my philosophy on what the point is.
Well, I'm going to actually figure this out over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Of what my perspective of what's our point.
Yep.
What's our point? And I think that we need to come up with something that speaks to what our point is. And there's a lot of things, right? And I spoke to this with James is we're professional firefighters. We're amazing. We're awesome. Your job is so important. I talked to academies about this. Your job is so important that you can't go home until somebody is there to do your job. You work at Intel, you call in sick, your seat sits empty for the entire day. Nobody gives two shits and your work is there the next day.
Yeah.
We call in sick. Our job is so important that you can't leave until somebody is there to take over for you. And I think there's a lot of value in that. I think we need to identify that value, and I think we need to speak to it more often about how amazing and important our job is. Mm-hmm. But again, what's the point?
I mean, for me, and this might seem pretty generic, but it really trickles down. The point is to leave this world better than you found it.
Yeah.
Right. And that means, you trickle all that down to like just coming to work, like I'm going to leave things better today than I did yesterday. And I think that's a really important value to have. And really, it allows me to check myself when I'm diving into something stupid, right? Because, we've got that crazy thing where 80% of our thoughts are negative on average, right? And so that's a National Science Foundation thing. But 80% of your thoughts are negative. So you're constantly having to find ways to look at the positive. And the goal, right, is to shift that 80% down to 50, right? And there's a survival mechanism thing when I'm rolling around in, 40,000 BC and I'm trying not to get eaten by a fucking saber-toothed tiger, right? Of course, my thoughts are going to be negative, right? But
yeah,
to be honest, that's still a thing today. So it's leaving this world better than you found it. It's leaving the day better than you found it. It's leaving your crew better than you found it, right? And the way to do that isn't to dive into some of that toxic, corrosive behavior that's just so easy because 80% of our thoughts are negative. So
yeah. And I think listening to Scotty Scheffler talk, there was some glimmers of like what I felt was I'm listening to a professional golfer that's number one in the world that's just lost and probably not going to play the game in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Because there's no meaning for him there. Because he did speak to being a good husband, being a good father. That's where he is. And a lot of the talking heads on the Golf Channel were talking about a lot of this comes from his faith. And I was like, that's fucking bullshit.
Yep.
Like, don't throw that out there. Like, don't speak for him. Like, this might not have anything to do with his faith, right? Now, his faith is probably the center of his life, and that's kind of his values or his wife and kid. What I see is a kid that's not even 30 years old yet that has never had a career. He's basically played golf his entire life.
Right.
And this is still a game to him. And now he's like, he's getting to be 30 years old. He's a dad, he's a husband. And he's like, what's the point? And I think a lot of us in this career, we want to be good fathers and good husbands and good spousal units and all that kind of stuff, right? Good wives. We want to be everything. But we also have to be good firefighters, good at our job. And so what's the point? And I think it is. I mean, I think part of it is leaving it better than you found it. And as long as we give people some good, clear vision and goals, that's the point.
Right.
What's the point? This is the point, right? So it was kind of timely, and it was good to be able to hear that and kind of reflect on it. And again, I encourage you, I mean, this isn't just a plug for my podcast with Todd. It's pretty entertaining if you go back and listen to my rant about Scotty Scheffler. It's interesting kind of perspective where somebody's really having an identity problem about one of the most successful golfers on the planet, arguably maybe potentially at the end of his career might be the best golfer to ever walk the face of the earth, but he seems lost. And I don't want any of our people to feel lost. I want our people to feel led. And this is the point. This is our mission. This is what we do. We're professional firefighters where we kick ass and we save people's lives and we work hard. And this is it. That's the point.
What do you think, in your opinion, is the main driver of happiness?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I guess kind of reframe that question. So,
what do you think?
My happiness or other people's happiness?
Just in general, let's just talk about statistical averages here. Like, what do you think is the main driver of happiness?
Well, I mean, me probably feeling a sense of purpose, because, whether it's as a dad or as a husband or as a firefighter, my purpose is more kind of on the side of being a dad. I've always said, if you want to see the real Chris Hart, come and watch me hang out with my kids, right? Yep. So my whole purpose, or how I get happiness and joy in my life, is being around my kids and knowing that at least they're teenagers now. So just knowing that they like to hang out with their dad.
Yep.
That unsolicited hug from an 18-year-old teenage girl to their dad that's happiness for me, right?
Yeah, you're describing like family connection, really.
Yeah.
So like the reason I asked that question, it was kind of loaded. So I just read this book called The Good Life, and The Good Life is about the Harvard Happiness Study, which is the longest running study in human history. It's almost 90 years long. And they have studied individuals, and now they're studying generationally, like grandkids of people that entered this study. And what they found throughout the study is it's not money. Money actually, people with lots of money actually have higher correlations to suicide rates than people that are impoverished. But the one thing they found throughout this longevity study, right, is that the one thing that makes people the most happy is having strong and healthy relationships.
Yeah. What was the name of that book?
It's called The Good Life. And they've got scatter plots in there, very statistically sound. It's a great book, but it's the longest running history and longest running study in human history. It's called The Good Life. And what they found is that connection, human connection, they talk about work connection, how valuable that is. When you go to Starbucks and you're like, hey, dude, how you doing? Like you're just going to get a, quad shot breve latte or whatever you drink, Dallas. And, but that engagement, right? Like that makes people feel good. And that connection that you have with your family and just at work, right? That is the biggest correlation to happiness than anything else in human history that they found. And I think that's pretty amazing because we have this crazy connection to all of our coworkers.
100%.
Right, man. We come to work. We are a pack freaking animals. We travel. We go to the store together. We cook together. We clean together. We clean the shitters together. We all go to bed at the same time. We get up at the same time.
Clean the shitters together.
I'm just saying,
that's one of the reasons I promoted. So I have to clean the shit.
But we do all these things together, and there's nothing else like that out there.
Yeah.
Not even in the military. I mean, there's separation between ranks in the military. Like we travel together. Our connection is so strong.
Yeah.
And we have to lean into that.
Yeah, and I think, you just run a few calls together. I've ran a few like really shitty calls with people that I remember who was on that call 30 years ago, right? Not 30, but probably 20 years ago. I could still remember calls at the city of St. Louis and who I ran with, and that's the kind of, and I've spoke to that too, is we go through the shit together, and that develops those relationships. And yeah, no, I think this is good. I think it's, making us all think, and I encourage all of you to think is what is the point? And yeah.
Leave it better than you found it.
There you go. Hey dude, I appreciate you.
Yeah, buddy.
Thank you, man. And, did it go better the second time?
Way better.
All right, man. All right, everybody take
out.
Take care of each
Stay
other.
rad, everyone.
We'll see you soon.